Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Underwood,
Here.
Gilman,
Here.
Chasm,
Present.
Horn, here, Lehman.
Approval of agenda.
Make a motion to support or to approve the agenda as presented.
Support the. Well,
I don't see any issue.
The only thing I would like to do is, there was a request to remove the sand bid award from the agenda. And so we have a meeting of the.
Your construction
bidding.
I can amend my agenda to approve the agenda with the removal of item F, stand bid award.
I'll support the amended motion.
Is there any further comment? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yep. Conflict of interest. Public comment.
Any person may make an advanced appointment with the board regarding road commission topics for a regular or special meeting in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. If an appointment is made, the topic will be an agenda item. The following applies to public comments. Please state his or her name and township or district. Topic must be relevant to the road commission. Individuals are allowed to speak once for up to 3 minutes on a single topic, which may be extended by the chair. A group addressing the board requires a designated spokesperson who may speak up to 10 minutes. The board will not act on any item from the public that is not on the agenda.
Thank you. Is there anybody who would like to speak during public comment?
Yes.
Come right up here. Give Kylie your name and address. Fire away.
Okay, I'm Betsy Boyce. This is Ben Boyce. We live at 1142 Carlisle Road, just down the road. And we are here to support the change in speed, the school zones within the 1,000 meters of each of the schools so that it's safer for kids.
At 3 Mile Inn.
Yep.
Yeah, so we live there. Our kids go to those schools there. We frequent the businesses and the library. And we're in favor of reducing that speed limit during the school hours to improve that new pathway that's proposed coming in there. Just for general safety, that road is super fast, and trying to cross that with kids in the past has been terrifying. Some near misses. So anything we can do to support that, becoming more safe for pedestrian use.
Yeah.
So we're in
And
favor.
also, as you all know, the community, that area is growing so fast with families, and all the new subdivisions. We know a lot of them, there are friends that go to Cherry Mill as well, and just making it more accessible so that eventually kids or families could just bike or walk to each other's house. That's pretty cool. That whole center right on Hammond 3 Mile. The library is fantastic and is a huge draw. And just being able to do shopping and not have it be wild and crazy that you have to get in the car to drive across the street to then go to the library. And 35 miles per hour, which is I think what it's proposed to go down to, would still be pretty fast, but would be way better. And also just having the signs would start to alert people to, oh, we're not just cars here, we got to think about others, just prevent danger.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, we'll close public comment.
Mr. Chair, may I want to make sure that I have a chance.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Scott Seifert, I live in the village of Kingsley, and some of you may know I saddled the responsibility of the commissioner for the county and the chair. And if you were fortunate enough to miss our meeting on Wednesday, because I know they run long in the tooth, I apologize. I'm working on that. I wanted to give our thanks not only as a resident of the county, but also as someone who's involved in emergency operations and what took place over this last weekend of the County Road Commission. Not only did you do a first-rate job, and in my opinion, set a standard for the rest of the state to follow, and I could give you a list of counties that wish they were us. how we responded, specifically how you responded. I'd also like to do a personal thanks to Mr. Watkins. I know he was involved, the EOC, and it was with his direct involvement was help emergency services reach people in need and help them to be successful. And I thank you all for your dedication, your service of this last weekend as and in the past. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott.
I'll try to sit over here where I'm not blocking the whole tiny chairs. Thank you.
Appointment 6:05.
Pretty much out there. Wow. 6:05, right under that.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Claire Turner. I'm the Director of Planning and Zoning with East Bay Township. Appreciate the opportunity to present this evening on two different topics. So the first one, you have a presentation, so I don't know if you're welcome to pull it up, or I think you also have it on in your packet or in your presentation in your packet. So we wanted to just provide you with an update on the Corridor Improvement Authority. I know that we've met with staff a little bit, but we wanted to provide an update on the Beach District. I did want to clarify, so we're not here seeking any type of revenue sharing agreement from the Road Commission. So just did want to clarify that. The updated revenue projections, we have eliminated all of the millages that are specific to, anything that was voted in by voters, specific to, a specific reason. So that would be veterans, that would be Conservation District, Road Commission, anything under that county umbrella. We are working with the county and they're taking a look at a TIF policy that would be kind of general to any future TIFs. And so that's a conversation that we look forward to having with the county, but we're not seeking any revenue sharing agreement with the Road Commission. We do, however, appreciate the opportunity just to give a little update on the Beach District. One being the fact that within the district boundary, as you see in your packet, there are Grand Traverse County roads within that district. We've got portions of 3 Mile, of 4 Mile, of Holiday Road, as well as there's a little bit of the Pine Grove neighborhood roads going there. So we think there's definitely opportunity for collaboration as we move forward with some of these projects that have been identified with the Road Commission. Also, the second reason we are excited to be here to present to you is through our community visioning effort, we identified a future project that we're calling it the 4 Mile Pier. It may not be a traditional pier, could be more of like a seasonal dock, but really a place where we can have an opportunity for residents on the east side to get out onto the water. So that's a location that we have some renderings you'll see within the presentation. There is kind of some ideas of what that could look like, but we are hoping to have this kind of a focal point within the district, improve the crossings, the safety, have a small parking area, and
Larry, do you have that on your computer so you can put it up for the
HN.
other people in the audience? Sure. To see?
yeah, and I could just go through each slide if you want. Okay.
Here we go. I think she's on the crossing at this point.
Okay, I'll start with just the first slide, and they're just quick slides. So I think, we began this process, the Beach District, it's, for years, and the district is basically comes East Bay Plaza all the way to the Burger King and Acme. It's the stretch of road that includes East Bay Township. And, for years, this has been identified as a corridor in need of more attention. It's got the highest traffic count in Grand Traverse County. It's auto-oriented, traditionally been kind of more hospitality focused. It's had a tremendous amount of private investment, but hasn't always had the public investment to support the safe crossing. So we have huge concerns there just with the high density of land uses and lack of safe pedestrian crossing. We know people are crossing along that entire corridor, and we are looking for opportunities to kind of funnel to designated crossing locations that are safe. So that was really the impetus for beginning this. You can go to the next slide. I will say that the Beach District has tremendous opportunities at the same time. We have a lot of locally owned businesses along that corridor, and they've really been very engaged throughout this process. We have the Tart Trail, non-motorized trail that runs along the corridor, as well as the Beta Bay Line route. We've got obviously Lake Michigan shoreline. We have a high concentration of growth in the adjacent neighborhoods. So a lot of that, the neighborhoods near the beach district are have a little bit higher density neighborhoods, but also are zoned for workforce housing. So we anticipate that we're going to see a lot more growth along that corridor with residents that are looking for more of kind of the walkable commercial amenities. We would mention that this effort is really building on past initiatives. So Grand Traverse County Planning Department led an interjurisdictional planning effort with Acme, East Bay, the city, Elmwood Township back in 2013, focused on this beach corridor. Again, in 2017 and 2018, the county assisted East Bay Township specifically on creating this beach district strategy. So kind of some of the plans that have come out of the last couple of years are really building on years of interest in this corridor and kind of how can we support planned growth and really better safety for the corridor. So the beach district visioning, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. The beach district visioning, really the public engagement portion, the majority of that took place in 2024. We had 2 federal grants that supported all of the activities that we've undertaken to date. There was a 10-month public visioning effort. We had about 700 community members, not just East Bay Township, but residents from throughout the county engage. We had a design charrette, a one-week charrette. We had a number of different public open houses, a public presentation. We had 2 large community surveys, as well as stakeholder interviews, focus groups. So we really, we also had a lot of pop-up meetings along the corridor. We were at kind of along the Tart Trail. We had a event at some of the restaurants. So it was really, I think, helpful to have so many residents inform the priorities that came out of this plan. Hopscotch, I don't know why that didn't. So yeah, Hopscotch, we had an event there. In addition to our visioning effort, one thing that we heard from the business community is they were kind of a low-hanging fruit. They're like, we need more of an identity along this corridor. We've got, downtown Traverse City, and how can this be, create more of a sense of place, create an identity. So one thing that we did was develop a logo for the corridor. So the beach district, we've got signage on kind of bookending both sides. Welcome to the beach district. We have decals along the Tart Trail. Welcome to the beach district. We've got Beta Bus was driving around town last summer and throughout a chunk of the year. And then we also have been hosting with the grant funding quarterly breakfast. So we've been meeting with the business community as well as residents and other stakeholders along that corridor. And we've had really great attendance at those. We've had different topics at each breakfast where we provide updates and information on NDOT projects or DNR or just different information and resources. And then we also have an implementation team that has been meeting regularly, kind of helping to guide our process and making sure that we are engaging the community and all of the stakeholders. This is just some of we have a brochure, beach district, so we're featuring all of the different businesses within the corridor. Again, this was funded through USDA Rural Development, but we were able to create the static brochure that we've distributed to all of the businesses along the corridor, restaurants, hotels, with a map and kind of information on wayfindings, as well as we have a business directory that we continue to update as new businesses are added. Then moving along to the next slide. This is going back to that opportunity site. So this was really identified by the community. There's a lot of excitement about this location at the 4 Mile Road end. And this was, we wanted to just start the conversation. We're not looking for any decision tonight. As you know, this is Road Commission, public road end. We have talked with staff. It sounds like it's not a road end that's used in day-to-day operations for the Road Commission. So there could be opportunity for East Bay Township, either through abandonment from the road commission and transfer to the township or through an easement, for us to be able to provide that as a public amenity. We've talked with the property owners on both sides. There's, interest and from both those property owners for this. So it's something that we're excited about. We did submit a grant application to Coastal Management Program to do all of the design kind of feasibility engineering for this to kind of get started with that. If you want to move on to the next slide. These are just some renderings. We've been working closely with MDOT identifying potential future locations for crossings. So our goal is to have safe crossings every quarter mile, whether that's bridge, tunnel, or at grade hawk signals. We are working to identify those locations for safe crossings. We know that people are not going to walk more than a quarter mile, and so this would really be a strategy of keeping people from kind of just jetting across the road and having designated safe crossing locations. You'll see the boulevards on the right-hand side. That would be very future. There's significant amount of access management that would need to take place, and driveway consolidation. So very future, but that's again just some renderings of what it could be. Our final plan, so the Beach District Plan, it's a sub-area plan to our master plan. It was adopted by both the Planning Commission and the Township Board in 2025. So highest priority, I would say, are those pedestrian crossings, maintaining the sidewalks year round. So we're looking to plow and making sure that the sidewalks are accessible year round. Completing the sidewalk network along US 31 as well as 3 Mile and 4 Mile, getting people from the TART trail to the district. Adding planters, seating, landscaping, better lighting along the corridor has been a big priority. And then also we've been working with Beta to enhance some of the Beta stops, putting permanent platforms, shelters, those types of things. We've started to approach property owners looking for easements to get some better Beta amenities along there. Can move on to the next slide. This is just the timeline. So I think the biggest piece of kind of once we adopted the plan to begin working towards implementation, we created the Corridor Improvement Authority, very similar to like the Traverse City DBA. So there's a board. They serve as an advisory role to the East Bay Township trustees, which are elected. So they help develop the plans. They make recommendations on budget. Everything is ultimately any decisions are approved by the township board. We have Jason here is a Corridor Improvement Authority board member, and we have 9 total members. Beth Friend, our township supervisor, also serves on the board. But we have 4 business owners. We have 3 residents that live along the corridor, and then 1 tribal representative with having the tribal property right there. So in terms of our timeline, we did have our public hearing on March 9th. And that was a public hearing for consideration of a draft TIF, tax increment financing and development plan. And so moving forward, the township board would have the opportunity to adopt that plan after 60 days. So there's a 16-day window for additional public input. And we've been presenting to the taxing jurisdictions. We've presented to NMT and Beta as well, just to kind of provide that information that those are both entities that we're looking for revenue sharing agreements with. So I think that might be the last slide. Is it? Yeah, I think it is.
It's on that last slide.
Yeah, sure.
So is the Indian Trail subdivision now excluded from the district? Or is it a part of the district?
So only the parcels along US 31 are part of the district. That subdivision was part of our planning focus, but with the state act, we're pretty limited in terms of we need the vast majority to be commercial properties. So we wanted to have the opportunity to improve the sidewalks along that corridor. I agree with
the state on that. That was, so that's good to know, because I was under the impression originally that that was going to be.
Yeah, we did carve out the TART trail all the way to the end of the border because that will allow us to help use the tax
Right,
increment financing
right.
revenue to pay for amenities along the trail.
That's that question.
You have mentioned, Claire, the 4 mile area of ours. And we have, this board has not had an exact discussion on it, but I know I was in favor of, if you come up with a reasonable plan, I know I will vote for it. I cannot speak for the board members because I think it's not likely we're going to use that it's not a necessary part of our road network.
Right. And believe it or not, I'm with him on
Okay.
abandoning the stub if that's,
You with me on this?
no, and it might come as a
Riley, are you
surprise,
taking
you
notes
know.
on that?
But
Jason Gilman approves something.
Well, we're being facetious, but it is something that you really can use. I'd like to see a beautiful pier like on the Pacific Ocean out there. That's my own personal opinion there. And I don't know how much it costs and whether it could ever be permitted. There's so many people in this community do not have access. And if you can provide it there, would be really fabulous.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. That's good feedback.
I do have other questions. If
You go ahead.
Okay,
and I'll ask
all
mine.
All right, so you said that you have a tribal member on the board. Their property, typically, are they paying taxes?
They are exempt right now under under a conservation easement.
Right,
They have put that property under conservation.
okay, so they're exempt and then they have a place on the board. I mean, they're not going to be contributing anything to the,
They do have another parcel that is not exempt.
okay,
Yeah, and I think one thing we've been working on with the board is continuing that sidewalk along the tribal property. And with the idea, our understanding is there's a desire for it to be a public park and accessible to the public. So that's an opportunity for putting some public
you're-
infrastructure there.
yeah, years ago, there was a hotel there and it was,
I have seen those plans.
I was literally crawling in the rafters of that hotel at one point doing some.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
saw the plans for another.
They were gonna build a new one there.
Great. Yeah, we did the abandonment in Acme. Acme Township had us do kind of a similar thing where it was a stub off the end before their development. At the intersection there, if I recall correctly. But I don't have any other questions right now.
With regards to the 4 mile road end, is there any public access through that road end currently?
There is, yes.
And what kind of public access is there?
I'd say it's pretty limited. Like there is some staging of, motorized boats, but just the fact that we haven't been dredging it for so many years, it's pretty, limited. There's a company at the beach condos that launches their jet skis out of there.
But it's a public road end, correct?
Right.
Okay, but is there a dock?
No.
Okay. Are there any boat hoists that are installed there? Okay. So why would it be necessary to have the road commission abandon that road end in order for you to install a pier or dock or any other improvement?
That's a good question. And that's one reason why we're also exploring like an easement or some agreement where we could, where the township could contribute the infrastructure.
Because my understanding is that our jurisdiction ends at what we call the subaqueous line, right? Beyond that is not within our jurisdiction. So we maintain the road end up to the water's edge.
Mhm.
And we don't have anything to do with installation of a public dock, boat hoist, or anything. So wouldn't it be a better option or a plan for the road commission to retain jurisdiction of the road end so that we continue to maintain that road end, and the township, which it would have done anyway, install the dock, the pier, and improvements that it wants to do?
Yeah, and that could be that could be a possibility that we could explore that's kind of outside of my
Okay, no, I understand that. I'm
the
asking,
legal side.
right.
I think part of what we're looking to do is have a small parking area, do some additional landscaping.
Sure.
Some crossings.
And,
So if that's something that we could still.
and usually parking is regulated through township police power ordinances anyway.
Mhm.
My preference would be to go in that direction rather than us abandoning a road end,
Okay.
which is not necessary in my opinion.
If I could really quickly, an easement would work well because we're planning on improving that through grant funding. And the grant funders will want to see something in place on the road side of it that ensures the access to that infrastructure that's in the waterway. And so that would be one reason to have something formalized between the township and the road commission.
And but if it's a public road,
Mhm.
why would you need an easement? Everyone can drive down to the public
So-
road up to the end.
They're looking at parking on either side.
Okay,
So maybe.
okay, so
with
for
respect to
parking
that.
purposes, you
Mhm.
may need this. Okay, that's fair. The other part in your final plan, when you list the priorities, is that in the order of the priorities? Okay. Because my questions have to do with the installation of pedestrian crossings every quarter mile along that corridor. And then you'd also said about installing Hawkeye. I mean, first question is who's going to be paying for those installations of, say, for example, flashing lights, Hawkeye, a pedestrian crossing?
We anticipate with the tax increment financing revenue, that would be a funding source. We also would be looking to MDOT for some cost sharing there.
Okay. Those are all
Transportation alternatives grants, those types of things that we would be exploring.
okay. All right, thank you. Those are all the
Yeah,
questions. I
thank
have.
you.
Okay. Questions on the financing. So it sounds like a lot of these improvements, you're targeting grants to. I guess I'm having a hard time understanding where the tip fits into your financing plan.
Mhm. I would say that a lot of the grants that we're applying for, one good example is the coastal zone management, where we applied for, I believe it was about, I think, 500,000 for just the feasibility study, preliminary engineering, kind of getting to construction ready. They require a 50% local match, so that would be a revenue stream for helping.
So for matching.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because there are, I mean, obviously 4 Mile Road needs significant improvement. Looking at the map, it's not a large part of 4 Mile Road in your district.
Mhm.
But I'm assuming that these collected revenues could be used towards infrastructure like road improvements and
Mhm.
things like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But it would be limited, specifically, the scope would be the outline of the beach.
within the boundary, yeah, we
Okay.
can't go outside of that.
Because it seems like there would be an opportunity for matches, the local matches that are required on our local road projects to really utilize that to kind of complete some of those things that we've been trying to do. Although I do understand the timeline is a hard thing to nail down, and I think we all have an interest in improving 4 Mile Road prior to that. But there could be a chance with the opportunity of the revenue creation to have some kind of sustainable road fund or road matching fund, kind of like Garfield Township has one, but East Bay could have one that could be assisted with that. It's not a significant thing for us because the majority of the roads are obviously the state roads in here. But there is some, some limited ways that maybe it would be.
Yeah, I mean Parsons all the way to US 31.
That's what I was
that's
thinking
3
about.
miles.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when you look at that map, there's a lot of opportunities there for us to partner on local road projects that require those matches. We can't solely fund ourselves, and utilizing those dollars. So I'd like to know that there is at least some interest in utilizing the revenue creation in this beach district towards infrastructure projects like roads, not just hawk signals and sidewalks, but roads as well.
That's good timing because we have a joint meeting with the township board and the Corridor Improvement Authority board Tuesday night. So that's a project that we can bring up to them because we can add projects to our plan prior to adoption.
Yeah. I think I didn't hear a lot of talk about roads in the presentation. So just a thought of kind of including that in the scope of what we're thinking of, I think would be important.
I'm going to piggyback off of her real quick. Drivers take the least resistance. So there could actually be an increase of 4 mile across Hammond, back down 3 mile, back down South Airport. People will avoid a stop every quarter mile. So it would be nice to be able to partner a little bit if that does come to fruition, like I would anticipate it to. Just because you get into July, you're not going to stop very good. Just be honest, you're going to get frustrated. They're going to seek a different route. I'm glad to hear you're working with Beta. I didn't get reappointed as a Beta board, but we are still working with them to harden. I call it harden their stops, which is a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
So
get people
I can-
move back a little bit.
I'll help
yeah.
talk to them for you too, because we're trying to get them to do it throughout the county. So that if it's a permanent stop, that we can harden that stop for those people to get safe on office buses. So.
Does anybody have, I just have one other question. Is there any update? Have you heard from MDOT about the, pedestrian, any more about the pedestrian crossing?
The at grade crossing that's at
No.
the bridge.
Yes.
So we have a meeting coming up. MDOT and the DNR are a little bit at, I don't know what, I wouldn't want to call it a face off, but I mean, the DNR doesn't have the funding and doesn't want to replace the pedestrian bridge. They're happy to look into it and the cost of it, but don't have the implementation piece of it. MDOT as well is not, as far as I can tell, wanting to pony up the funds either. So, you know, one of the things with the beach district that we're hoping is that, you know, people ask us often about this. The county even took action with respect to the bridge. We don't have the authority, but we're part of the conversations. And what the beach district also does with its funding and our ability to create more funding with that initial funding through grants is it brings some more, I wouldn't say credibility to the table. It's not credibility, but more authority, I would say, to the table, because we have some seed money to fund, whether it's a study or matching funds for actual infrastructure, those types of things. We have a meeting coming up that will involve our legislative representatives, MDOT, DNR, the township, because we at the township kind of see everybody going off all this different ways, and we kind of want to coalesce everybody to get to the same vision. Okay, doesn't matter if you have the money, doesn't matter what's the vision. So then we can at least all be looking at the same beacon to try to figure out how to get there. So I don't hear of a solution from anybody at MDOT or DNR. I'm not saying that we have the exact solution, but trying to get everybody to work together to create one. So we'll see.
Thank you. All right. You want to have her start the second one? Thank you, Claire, on the first one. It was very clear, very excellent.
Thank you. I have these maps if you want to just pass those around.
Yeah, that actually, I tried to look at it with this.
Okay.
So this is, and we appreciate the opportunity to come talk a little bit about this school safety zones. As you all are aware, we are slated for construction for the Safe Routes to School in June. We are looking to coordinate that construction with the road commission on the Hammond construction project so that we can kind of have both of those. Hopefully they go out to bid at the same time, presumably same contractor. But we do anticipate with this new Safe Routes to School infrastructure, and you'll see in red, this is where we're constructing the 10-foot wide pedestrian pathway. In blue is the sidewalks that will be added, and then green is the existing trail. We've got one crossing that's going to be a rapid flashing beacon right at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, and then we also have safe ADA crossing at four points with that intersection. So we do anticipate that there's going to be a significant increase in student walking and biking activity in the surrounding vicinity. And so we are requesting that the road commission consider a reduced speed limit supporting. I know that you can't actually activate it. We will reach out to the Michigan State Police, but supporting a reduced speed limit during the school arrival and dismissal windows. We've talked with MDOT a little bit. They recommend kind of moving away from the static signs and installing The, like the flashing signs, so when it's activated, it'll be flashing. Which are easier to understand and enforce. They can be controlled by the school, they can be controlled remotely. And so that is something that the signage we're looking, that would be paid for by East Bay Township. Is the plan. So we have attached a proposed school zone safety map that's in the first page of the packet. That would be 1,000 feet in each direction from Grand Traverse Academy, from the TC, the East Middle School and the St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. Basically, we're looking to have it along 3 Mile Road and Hammond Road. We're not looking at any other roads at this time. Potentially in the future we would, but for right now, it's really just focused on Hammond Road and 3 Mile. We are proposing a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit during those drop-off and pickup times. You'll see within your packet, we have letters of support from Superintendent of TCAPS of Grand Traverse Academy and also Grand Traverse Area Catholic Schools, as well as a resolution of support from the East Bay Township Board. So we wanted to just present that to you this evening. We put together some draft language for your consideration for a resolution of support from the Road Commission. To get you started, but would be happy to answer any questions. I do think that ensuring that the fees are reduced, kind of where we know students are going to be concentrated most, would be, yeah. That's all I have. So
I have questions. Have you purchased easement up Hammond Road outside of the Road Commission's right of way?
yes,
Good.
we got it.
All the way out to, because that was one of our main concerns when you were first talking about, because we are extending our,
Yeah.
our
we
through lane.
Yes, so we have our Brandon Newhoff engineer have been sharing the CAD files with Chris and his team. So we've we're feeling good about that. We in my last conversation with Brandon Newhoff, we have a 5-foot buffer in between the edge of road and the edge of trail where there's no curb, and whereas there's a curb, we have a minimum of 3 feet separation between the trail and the edge of road. So we have one, final meeting just to kind of compare the plans, I think coming up, maybe not next week, but the week after, whenever Dan gets back from vacation. But yeah, we are in good shape.
Dan, are we curving that or are we just no curving it?
It is curved. I'm trying to think of where it's curved up to. I want to say it's up to like the East Middle School bus entrance, back entrance, or in Olson, somewhere in there. So that's when we bring the lane back over currently.
Okay.
Future, we obviously like to keep going all the way out 4 Mile, and there is future plans there.
And that's being built in, what they're answering.
When we talked to Brandon Newhoff, I remember talking about up to the bus garage or the bus entrance there. I don't know where we're at past that. So that section from there up to Chartwell Drive.
Yeah.
That I'm not 100% sure on. We'll probably need to follow up on that.
Is this the same kind of thing like that's on Silver Lake Road by the junior high? It's a sign that flashes like
That is, yes.
it's a 55 road, but I think when school is in, I want to say it's 45, but
It's flashing.
Yeah.
Just during that.
it's like a speed
window.
limit sign.
Yeah.
But and that's what you're talking about
Yeah.
on these 2 roads. Okay.
When is the construction for the safe school routes slated to end?
Before school starts. So our
So
goal
it begins
is
in
to-
June and
Yeah.
sometime before September.
August, yeah.
August.
We're hoping we have that meeting in about a week and a half. And what our hope is that we could let the bids at the same time, because it would be phenomenal if we could get the same contractor for both the road commission work and for the safe routes to school. We think that that would not only be good for both of our projects, but we also think that it would show an efficiency to the public who watches the project come to fruition. So, that'll depend on a whole lot of things. Our engineer's time, your engineering time, all of that. But that's the hope.
We have those out yet.
No, very close, getting ready to let them know.
And we're close to letting as
Yeah,
well.
I think our goal is May 1 letting, but
So the whole Safe Routes to School project, that has come before this board in the past, and we have discussed it, we've approved. So right now, the only request is to establish a safe zone, a speed zone, that will stand 1,000 feet out from each school,
from each property boundary.
Okay.
How
from
we-
each property boundary or from
From each school's property
boundary.
boundary.
Okay.
So that's where you see, if you look at
So
the
three-
map, it's
3 miles, basically power lines to Vanderbilt. I'm budgeting a little bit, right?
yeah.
And the other one's the pond to just before Carlisle.
Yep.
Ish.
I don't have a couple. You go
Yeah.
go ahead.
And of course, just to clarify for everyone, our action today is not going to be establishing the speed zone.
Right.
That decision rests with the Michigan
The
State
state
Police.
police.
Okay.
Yeah, we just want to provide them with the support from the township, the road commission, and the school district.
Great.
And which clearly the school districts and the township are on board with this.
Right.
Right.
Well, and one of the things I think, and I don't think Dan would mind me sharing this, is Dan and I have talked before, and Dan has even expressed concerns like, how do we keep this safe through here with some of the road speeds? And it was very kind of OHM to donate about an hour's worth of time to Claire and I with one of their traffic experts. And like, how do you do this? This is already a developing road, 3 Mile, Hammond. And he said, you've got to do it a little piece at a time. Every little bit you do is going to make an incremental change. He said, there's not going to be a magic bullet on this. So this is one of those things with the school zones. Another one is the curbs that Dan's talking about. I mean, if you put in curbs, is it going to make the difference like that? No, but you layer all of these pieces together and you start to bring that down to a safer speed and context when you're driving through.
This is actually something a few years ago, I may be the only one on the board who was here at the time. Maybe you were here. No, I don't. Anyway, when we first started talking, when the safe routes was starting, we were starting the discussion, everything. It's like, I'm on board because I don't want a roundabout at 3 Mile in Hammond, and honestly, it's better off without the roundabout there for the crossing. Whereas you get a roundabout, people just assume they're just going to keep flowing. And it's just, so, I've been in support of it since I have no problem with the speed limit.
I just have a couple of things, and the traffic safety people are the right, certainly the right people to go with. That we have to be careful not to bottle up the speed because I don't want to go too low because people, if they felt they're just not going to drive that speed and there's going to be more conflicts between them, I think, because they're trying to come from way out Supply Road and get through there, and they're already late to work, and be careful of the restrictions. And I guess, are we going to review this? And then at some point next month, if we have a good feeling about it, we're going to pass the resolution in support of it. And I would not be in favor of letting the school system change the hours. I think the hours should be the regular times, and sometimes school hours are irregular, but I would prefer myself that they would be the regular school opening closing hours, and those hours would be posted where the flashers are.
So
The people would understand the expectations of them.
Can't we just pass the resolution?
I have a question on it. In your memo, it states that these systems, referring to the flashing flags, that they would be controlled remotely by the schools.
They could be.
Okay, but what is the actual, who makes that decision as to who controls those signs? Where does
So
that
that was
decision
the
lie?
information we received from MDOT, is that that there would be the capability for the school to do it. There'd also be the capability so that's a question that we would need to answer, and we would likely work with Michigan State Police to figure out exactly the best mechanism for controlling that.
Do you know, as of today, who are the possible entities that could control that besides the school? Would it be the township? Would it be road commission? Would it be MSP?
Those are all options. I'm not sure.
Because I would not be in favor of the school
Okay,
controlling that, a sign on our road.
okay.
So, I think that what the proposal is for 35 miles an hour. To me, that's a reasonable speed limit. So I'm ready to vote on it, on the resolution.
I
I
think
don't
we
think,
see with just the congestion at that intersection during school drop off and picks up right now, people are moving slow. So I think it's not gonna significantly impact the speeds during that window of drop off and pick up.
Do you want to include language in the resolution about the control of the?
Down at 113 at Hannah St. Mary, I believe they're putting on a timer, set times in the morning and the afternoon. I don't know if it got installed yet or not. Does that sound correct?
It does.
Okay. So the turning it on and off, to my knowledge, probably be a set timer in the morning, in the afternoon, and then
So a resolution be supported with the use of a timer.
right, I think we
That's what I'm
can.
asking you.
Yeah,
Do we know who does
yeah,
the
I think we
road?
could, that
Isn't that our
would
road?
be a reasonable.
There's a flasher on Silver Lake
And
Road,
that way
which is our road. Do we know who controls the timing on that or the? You know, Larry?
it's a
This
No,
road.
it's school.
Okay, so Larry thinks the school does the Silver Lake Road one. Okay.
That's there.
because I'm right. That's fine.
I mean, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-03-02 in support of updated school safety zone in East Bay Township.
I'll second that.
Well, I just have a point of order. Are we including any caveat in there that?
With the use of a timer?
With the use of a timer or without,
Or a report back how we're going to do that.
well,
Not that it would be in the resolution, especially if we have another.
You're
one in our-
officially on the appointment calendar. So
And we're not super
it
formal
okay?
here.
I mean, we have another one in our.
Commissioner Lehman,
that doesn't
thank
do
you.
that.
Why is my assumption would be it is a roadway, so that Michigan State Police would have some guidance because they approved this category on who would be able to have access to it. As Claire says, they say potentially schools, and we're hearing that may be the case on the west side of town. We are absolutely open to working with you to do something where the road commission either has control or input of that. We don't have an issue with that. What we want to see is it in place and it during the times when schools are opening or closing. We certainly don't have any control over the schools opening or closing times. And we know that you guys, if you adjusted it, would want to coordinate with them anyway. So I think that there's room for that to work. And I do, so Commissioner Lehman, if I could, you mentioned not slowing the traffic. And that's one of the things that we talk about regularly when we talk with OHM, when we talk with them about is how do we keep it safe and things flowing the best you can. It's not a perfect world out there. So trying to do a lot of things there. So
And I'm certainly in support of reducing speed for safety, but stop traffic is a problem drivers don't like.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and support for it. Is there any more discussion? Do we want to add the language about control? Are we comfortable? What do people make and support the motions want to do?
I mean, I definitely feel I'm not comfortable with the schools controlling it. So I guess we could have some language in there that clarifies that we are adopting this resolution subject to further discussion with the Michigan State Police as to who would
So
control the
maybe
sign.
final determination on the control.
Right.
I'll add that in.
Okay,
I'll agree to that, so.
all right.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? Do we need to roll a resolution?
Yeah.
Is a resolution? Okay, Kylie, you'll have to call us to vote.
She's still writing.
Okay. We can make small talk for a while. Don't worry.
Gilman,
Yes.
Chasm,
Yes.
Horn,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Lehman.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
All
it.
right. Thank you. Now,
The consent calendar is used to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together without discussion. Request by any person present to remove any item from the consent calendar for full discussion as an agenda item are automatically respected. The action noted in parentheses for all items remaining on the consent calendar are approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. The manager recommends the following items be adopted. 1, minutes, 2, payroll, 3, accounts payable, 4, financial reports, and 5, communications.
Does anyone on the board want to remove anything from consent? Suppose someone in the public could want to remove something from the consent. Yes. All right.
I make a motion that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
And when you're ready, if there's no further discussion, Kylie, you can poll us again.
Chasm,
yes.
Corn,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Lehman.
Yes. Thank you. All right, I have, we're to D, and I've sort of tried to switch this around a little bit for things that I didn't think have been so smooth. A lot of times we'll be speaking on a subject and Dan will go, we're going to look around. He'll say to us, well, I was going to cover that in my manager's report. So I have, try it, and whatever you guys like, if we don't like it, we'll switch it back for smoothness. But so I grouped the manager's report, the staff report, and Dan's comments together.
I like that.
All right, Dan, you're ready.
Well, I started writing down my manager's comments and it came more into like a list of things that I think I need to talk to you about. Maybe or for just to get you thinking for like the next meeting, different things like that. So it's probably a little longer than I normally do. First thing was MS4. They just got back to us recently. They want us to. It's kind of interesting. So usually like cities and townships, they say we need to have an ordinance. Well, we can't have an ordinance. So they're asking us construction, stormwater runoff. So they're asking us to create that policy as part of the MS4. They put us, once again, they're giving us a very tight timeline here. So it's something we'll need to approve at the next board meeting to stay legal here. So we finally get the policy committee together before the next meeting, get the policy in place, and they did supply us with some language. So it's kind of already roughed out for us of a policy. The next one we wanted to talk about a little bit, we've been trying to work on this one. It's traffic control devices. We have 2 within the county that we don't have agreements with. They're actually private signals. And those are with one in South Airport in front of the mall. And the other one is the Copper Ridge Light. Now, we've had a few conversations about this. He wants to move forward with trying to get these agreements worked on because they're coming up on major repairs. Or I know the comments been talked about that we should just bring them into the system and take care of them because they're such major corridors. And we're not trying to rely on businesses.
We were just talking about this. We should have control over those lights over our roads. I mean, essentially, especially Copper Ridge. That's actually one of my things that I wanted to talk about.
I can't believe that the one at the mall is not in our system. That's
We're talking about the mall one that goes across to the Grand Traverse crossings, right? Not the big
Home
intersection.
Depot and.
Yeah. Okay, so not the
For
big
what
one.
maintenance
the-
agreements.
Okay,
There was maintenance agreement that's in place.
the One by
At the mall, but then I think the Lowe's side, the south side.
There's the one at Lowe's, and
It was, the original agreement was with the mall.
well, which traffic light are we talking about? Are we talking
There's
about the
two,
one?
there's one at Copper Ridge.
Right, but the one at the mall is the one at the main light where you turn
That's out there.
right to go into Walmart and that plaza, and
Yes.
right? That's a major
Yes,
forest.
That's not our
And
light.
that's not our light.
It's our light, we permit.
And we take care of it, but it's technically, there's like a maintenance agreement that's not.
They have a maintenance agreement that they're supposed to take care of, or we're supposed to.
They're supposed to have funds. We do the work on it. They're supposed to have funds to doing. And
We're back to a $600,000 light job. I mean, again. And I mean, are we,
Who's paying it?
yeah, who's paying it?
You're talking about the developers that own,
Well, they're the ones that requested we put it along.
It's the,
it's
crossing.
two mall properties,
Crossing
they're different
properties.
entities.
Yeah.
But as a whole, the different entities own infrastructure that's shared by their,
Yeah, that's
one has something, one doesn't. The Home Depot side wasn't, I don't think even there when the light originally went in.
I think you're right.
So they don't wanna kick in, but yet it's kind of a mess.
Okay,
So it's just something we need to get clarified
But
on.
they only pay for maintenance. When we have to have the.
I don't know if they're paying for maintenance. They're supposed to be paying for maintenance.
Okay, so right now we pay to replace it, we pay to maintain.
We're coming to the end of life on the light and need some major updates, and that's where we're at of like,
Updating.
who's paying for this?
I do think we need to talk to, they're both in Garfield Township. We need to talk to Garfield
Yeah.
Township about it. Garfield Township's been they've kind of had some policies. I complained last year about when they replaced the lights at Lowe's and at Meyer. The township, MDOT was ready to replace the lights. And the township board decided they didn't like cables. So we'll pay $500,000 to put up poles.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't say the whole board.
but the vote was unanimous, however.
I wouldn't.
Right, because I did talk about it afterwards, but I don't think they're thinking about that in any way anymore. But they receive a fair amount of tax revenue from those businesses, and we receive tax revenue from those businesses. I'm sure they're assessed in the neighborhood of what they're worth. So we do get revenue from them within the scope of our millage. I have complained, and we've talked to Haley about it, and we didn't have quite an understanding about it. And Jason and I talked about this since, and Dan mentioned that Haley said you can't do that with those lights. Well, they weren't. It's not within something that a technician can fix. It was in the design, the way the lights were designed, how the traffic flows through there. And if we're going to do that again, we certainly should have a great amount of input, and we should ask for some help.
Are you referring to the scoots that using the scoot system on those lights?
No, I thought we'd throw that away, but that
No,
was.
I thought that was operational.
That's operational.
Larry, is the scoot, what, is that light wired into scoot?
The light at what intersection again?
The mall.
At the mall, between the crossing and the mall.
Yeah, it is.
Almost out there.
Crossing circle, I think it's.
We have had issues with that.
We have issues with
Yeah,
it.
but it is hooked up with scoot.
I'd explore, us, the township businesses, trying to figure out how we can work together to.
Did somebody
Kind of
make
like-
them put a traffic light in there? Like saying, hey, in order to get your PUD passed, you have to provide a traffic, like, I'm just trying to think of the origin of this.
I would bet.
Before any of us were on the board.
Yeah, well,
That was a long time ago, yeah. I mean, I remember the white barn or the white farm that used to
Oh,
be
yeah.
there a long time ago.
Now they voluntarily.
I don't think they voluntarily did this. That's the point I'm coming from. So I think where Dan's coming from with this, talking about maybe potentially policies or something. If we have developers that are gonna build projects and a component of the project is to provide the infrastructure for a light, say whatever, we've done the studies and we know that we need a light there. Then they initially pay for the light, and then where does that go? You know,
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what
It's
we're
not just a maintenance agreement, it would be beyond.
But it would be within the agreement of the scope of their PUD, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that go with the life of the PUD? I was to the PUDs, I went and spoke for the crossings. This was a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah,
That kind of a property rights guy.
yeah, right.
And there was a guy from Suns Bay, Dean Robb, who was
I remember.
quite a bunch of he led the anti crowd.
Yeah.
And, there was stuff to go, but the Garfield Township Board, it's not a pushover. I would look to them to see what the agreements were.
I don't know if the township's involved at all as far as an agreement. It's an agreement with the
But
mall.
that they might have made them do something.
It could have been a
have
condition of the approval.
That's what
of
I'm
the
thinking.
approval of the PUDs.
I can check. I haven't heard anything of that.
In which case,
So,
they're gonna pay us to fix.
Right now, they're not wanting to pay anything. to the issue.
well, them not wanting to pay is immaterial if
Right.
there's an agreement in place that
I
requires.
think we need to know that first.
There's
We-
not
yeah.
full agreements.
Yeah.
What Haley's telling me is
I
there's
don't-
not.
We may not have it. That's the point.
Yeah.
That the township
Yeah.
may have it in their
We,
record.
we need to
Yeah.
go back to Garfield
Right.
and look at the.
I guess my clarification is at one point they were saying, where I was kind of getting a little bit of direction of like, there are lights, we're gonna take care of them, we're not gonna worry about it anymore. You do want me to proceed of trying to get agreements in place.
We want to know, first we want to know where we're at with.
What was the covenant?
Mhm.
You know, what was the agreement in order to get their
Right.
plan approved? And I suspect it's gonna be traffic control as well as, I recall, the whole reason why it's a squirrely mess of roads inside the malls, because that was also required by the township.
Mhm.
So.
So
They have those squirrels as parking cubes.
Well, no,
Different than a
it
Disney.
it was so nobody drives straight out from the store after they rob it, something like that. I recall something of that nature. It's,
But we do need a policy in place because, I mean, Beth's here, not to be controversial, but we have a guy down the road here that wants to expand this. The project, Town Line Road, Town Line Road. And we
Right.
had some discussion over.
We need a
hey,
light
You're gonna
there
trigger a
at
light,
some
because
point.
you're gonna increase your number of units higher than what originally authorized.
Yeah. So
So we have policy in place.
plus
to go, look,
East Bay Township.
sorry, Beth, you're here. It's
Buy a
maybe-
But this is a lot like water and sewer, and so
Yeah.
if I were you, my question would be, can you make them care for it in perpetuity?
Yeah.
Because when they install water and sewers, we have a water and sewer turnover.
Then you turn it
Yeah.
over.
And you turn it over, and then we bear that responsibility.
Yeah.
We make sure that it's in good working condition. But then that's our
Yeah.
public infrastructure.
But they also pay a fee to use that in perpetuity.
But so
They
in
pay
fact,
an
it's,
extra
In
amount of
the water rate and in the sewer rate.
Yes.
In order to use that,
but there's a
pay
millage
every-
for our services too. I mean,
In order to get our PUD for the property on Lafreniere, we had to build a $30,000 crosswalk. It was part of it. We had to. We didn't have a choice. I'm working on another property right now in Leelanau where they're requiring us to lower the speed limit and go before, the Elmwood Township Board and all that. So I know that there's these requirements on developers that have to do with things that have to do with infrastructure or things that have to do with traffic safety. So I think it is a really interesting concept.
Yeah.
Do we have a policy with guidelines on restrictions aren't the right word, requirements in order for people to build their developments, which ultimately turn into things that are part of our infrastructure and our, asset inventory. So how do we deal with that? And I don't know the answer. The traffic lights are a big deal because we all know what kind of cost. But we should probably have the same guidelines or thought process for a $600,000 light or a $30,000 crosswalk, right? Like,
We
I
should
don't
have
know.
a policy.
so,
I don't know.
yeah, that's,
So installation of traffic control devices is typically governed by engineering standards. So if there's going to be so the policy would be limited to once a traffic control device has been installed, who maintains it?
Right.
Oftentimes, kind of similar to a road. Sometimes we require the developer to put in a road. We say, you put in the road
To our
as-
standards.
To our standards, and then we'll incorporate it into the
Right.
system. We could use the same approach with a traffic control device that says that if engineering determines based upon where it's being located and where the traffic is coming out onto the main road and how much traffic is coming out, if it requires you to install a traffic light. Okay, you pay the installation fee. And then once it's installed, we incorporate it into our system.
Yeah.
But we are not going to govern by policy when a traffic light is going to
Right.
go in, because that's engineered.
What do they call that? There's that, we had that whole meeting on that last year, where they look at, whether or not a light is needed.
Warrants.
Thank you, warrant. That, yeah, okay, I appreciate that.
Now, this is an interesting question because the development that we're talking about in East Bay Township, they're gonna build in behind things they've already done. They're not asking for access to our roads anymore. They're adding them to the private road network. What if, for example, the East Bay policy didn't cover that? What if they didn't say, well, you're all going out to the road commission property. You need to re-permit that for the number of traffic, the number of daily trips you're gonna have. What if the guy said, well, the road's here, I'm just adding to the end of it. You can't make me do anything out there.
Well, I think before we did the original agreement, there's certain stages he hits.
Phases, yeah.
When he hits this one, he has to put a turn lane. When he hits this one, he has to put a
Traffic studies have to be
Exactly.
done.
It's
Before you even put a driveway in, you have to,
Yeah.
you know, a traffic study.
It's
Do you
based on
believe
the
we have
number of
something in
units.
place for that?
Yeah, I think it's the 200 units about,
Yeah, it's
I want to say.
it's based on the number of units that you're adding. That's what triggers that requirement.
So
So-
based on that, we would be absorbing that turn lane into our inventory observe. I mean,
At some point.
Hyder's point is an excellent point because he's right. We just absorb that in. I don't know that there's this in perpetuity. You also have to maintain it. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying we
No.
have to treat it all the same, but I've never heard of anything like that in any of the properties I've been to.
Typically, it's
develop around.
not. Once you absorb it into the system, we pay the maintenance of it because it is then being used not just by those developed people who live in that development.
Right.
It's being used by the public in general. But the installation of it,
Get
that cost
yeah.
is incurred by the.
So technically, we would own these then, yes?
Yes.
Essentially.
Okay, and that would require some sort of handover agreement or something, kind of like we do when we turn over our water and sewer to the township. We have these big agreements drawn up.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you need to do that to have the development team turn over the infrastructure like a light? Or
Yeah, you would. You would be
Okay.
part of it. Typically, we would require working in coordination with the township and the planning department there to make sure that we are there from the beginning of it, when we
Okay.
develop it.
Yeah.
And then we have our own permitting process as well,
Mhm.
if they're opening up to our road. So we could also address it at that point as well, when they come to us for a permit as to whether we require that traffic control device to be installed. But ideally, you get it into the ground floor level with the township.
And if we absorb these, the township might actually help us too. They might partner.
So would that?
The
would
bottom line is
mechanism
you're
be
not gonna take them
policy
out.
For that process then?
It-
Or not?
Yeah.
Well, it would be a policy to the extent that if a traffic light is required as part of the engineering standards, then the cost of the installation is going to be borne by the developer. And then once the traffic control device is installed, we will take it over. I don't believe you need a specific policy for
Okay.
that, because that could be part. If engineering standards already require some sort of a traffic control device requirement triggered by the number of housing units, the number of vehicles, then you don't need a policy. And then that could be part of the agreement with the developer at that point, that, hey, you install it, we take it over.
So it's different than a water or sewer turnover because that's not where engineering standards are required.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're talking about just maybe being part of that process when a development team is going in and working with the township, then we would be in there at that stage.
And we
Ideally.
should understand then that when that happens, we're obligating the road commission to take care of more and more of these.
Yes, as the population grows, as there's more. housing.
Whether we like it or
But
not,
yeah, that's the
ultimately,
reality of
if there's a warrant for it,
Okay.
Right.
there's a warrant for it.
So
When-
we have gone a long time in the manager's comments.
When Zimmerman Road, when Zimmerman Road was built as part of that development, did we have an official turnover of the road to the road commission? I believe we did.
On Zimmerman. say that
Zimmerman
again?
Road, remember when WODA at Brookside Commons had to build the
Oh,
Zimmerman
yeah.
Road extension? And it became the road
Yeah.
commission's asset
Yeah.
that the developer paid for.
Absolutely.
There was an official turnover of some kind.
Yeah, I don't, maybe it's part of the agreement. It's not unusual for a road or for a township or a road commission as part of the planning process to require the developer to install a road or traffic.
Correct, yeah. So to help Dan out on this particular question on these two lights, what I'm hearing is kind of a consensus that we own those lights now.
I wouldn't go that far.
You wouldn't,
I
okay?
wouldn't go that far because if there's an agreement in place,
Oh,
from
yeah,
back when,
if there is an agreement.
that
in place
agreement
with the
needs to be
PUD,
honored.
Absolutely.
Okay,
But
so,
setting aside a PUD agreement.
and if there's not,
There are, we just know there are.
Yeah, we do.
So I would direct you
Yeah.
to, we have quite a few things on the list I would like to cover when we talk about directing Dan. There's a lot of administrative work that Dan can no longer do. There's too much of this.
There's too much. yeah.
Somebody needs to follow up on 107,000 exaggerating things like this. And so when he brings them to our attention, then this is going to require somebody to go to Garfield. We're going to need some, I believe someday, very soon, we need some help on the research that goes into this.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to go back to when they first put the mall up and then the crossings. We need to go back and review these, what's available, what was said and done, what was promised. And then we just understand. Once we've got it, we don't.
so what are you,
I'm saying someday he's gonna need an executive assistant.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we know that.
okay.
We've
And, you
supported
know,
that from the get-go.
And
so-
these projects are so old that there's nobody still working at any
No.
of these places that was part of it. So it does make it more of a research project, like you said, absolutely.
It might be some
The truth is out there.
it's there, but it takes a lot of stuff. Go
There
ahead.
might be a PUD requirement.
Go ahead. Ed.
I was scared to bring up my next.
Don't be scared of us, Dan.
No. The next one I want to talk a little bit about was the Long Lake Dog Bone Roundabout. I know we've talked about that one, for several years now. Something interesting just came out. It's called the 2027 Congressional Designated Spending Funds, kind of like an earmark that's available. It's through Senator Peters and Senator Slotkin's. And they're looking for projects. We are gonna put in for those.
Okay.
And we're gonna recommend this project because we haven't had any luck getting this funded. Furthermore, so we've been at for 3 years now underneath that call for safety projects. And we just looked at it, it's a 5-year running thing and years fall off. That intersection, what years have fallen off, it's actually improving. So we've been denied 3 times in a row. And it's an improving now when they look at it. So we're not gonna be able to get funding for that most likely with the safety call
Right.
project. So we think this might be a good opportunity. So we're gonna try that. Once we get everything filed and stuff, it might be good to try to get stuff together where we try to get people to reach out to these senators and support this project. So.
So, Mr. Chair, I mean, that's great that we're gonna apply for this funding. I'm happy that there's a new source of grant funding. But I'm gonna keep pushing for alternative options at that intersection. And like we have been discussing for 4 or 5 months.
Okay,
So
let's put that in the commissioners'
yeah,
reports, requests, and roundtable. But I'm not shutting you off on that. Let's put it this.
no, I'm not going to be shut off. So,
I have a question, Mr. Chair, for you and Dan. Do you need any technical help on filling out this, is it a grant?
Yes, so we're having Joe Slanecki work on that for us.
Because sometimes you get really technical.
I will ask Joe if he needs any help with that.
Okay.
There's tons of forms that comes right from the senator's offices. They want you to fill those out directly. Okay, so that's what we're working on. So just kind of a little bit of numbers on these grants and previous, they range from 54,000 up to 67 million. The average amount received was 3.8 million, which is probably right in there for a roundabout of that size. So.
and is it a nationwide program, or is it specific to Michigan?
They probably got an earmarked out for our area if they're.
That's the national, if it's our state center, or the US senators that represent the state.
But is this the
I would
amount?
have to
Is
read
there
through it again.
is there an earmarked amount?
Those
Or
books
is
that
it
came through and I don't remember all that.
Okay.
It does have like the normal, like 20% probably match.
Because that will be relevant as to how many dollars are allocated to the area, and then depending upon that, how many projects will be
Right,
competing
right.
against.
Right.
I'll bet it's nationwide.
That kind of rolls me into talking about the call for safety projects. Do we want to look at doing those again? And
No,
okay,
Are you talking about the grant apps for the
yeah,
state?
they're really small. They've been small. We've only received so much. They take up a tremendous amount of engineering time. And until the engineering department is staffed up, I would recommend.
It costs us more to do
I know.
it than it.
Well, and there's we have a fair amount of projects that we're under the gun for, and these are usually kind of smaller local safety stuff. I think we need to focus, I would prefer we focus on the big picture stuff that we're struggling to get done in a timely fashion.
But those safety grants have been useful when we have had to do road safety audits. We did the whole Cedar Run corridor through that safety grant. So I don't know how much engineering time is spent on that, but there is a value to those projects. We did the high friction thing on Zimmerman for that. That paid for that. So it's not a waste of time.
No, but I'm saying our
You know,
time is really this year with the big increase.
right now, if we were to put this out to have somebody do it for us, we're probably looking at close to $7,000 per project to file.
like any project, like $7,000 in terms of man hours.
But what it's gonna take to file for each one. So say we did 2 projects, you'd be looking at 14.
Okay, but let's just take that. Let's just say, for example, do you happen to remember what was the grant for the road safety study that we did on Cedar Run and Gray?
That one, I believe Derek filed all the stuff for it.
Right. I'm just
For the RSA's, I don't think there's in detail, so.
Okay,
As
and
much
then-
to do the study, it's when you're trying to get the funding to do the project is where they're very detailed, the all stuff.
right, but I'm talking about, cost benefit, in terms of
Yeah.
how much was the grant for the high friction surface that we did in Zimmerman? What was the cost of that project?
The total cost was 217,000 and we received 165,000.
Okay, so we got 165,000 for $7,000 worth of work. I think that's pretty fair.
It wasn't just the $7,000. That was just the initial.
That's what I'm hearing from him about 7,000. Was there any additional costs?
I don't remember the costs were there. I'm just saying to do, if we want to do a project this year with what we would have in it filed for whichever we want to be $7,000.
So may I ask a question? The Cedar Run Road Safety Audit was 18,000.
I'm sorry?
The Cedar Run Road Safety Audit run through MDOT was 18,000.
Right,
We're
yeah.
responsible for 10%, right?
Because these are all scored in the end. Do we even have anything that'll score well enough to even get close?
Anything that we would probably recommend, we've applied for in previous years, a couple of years, and we've always been denied.
But as I recall, the scoring's always way lower than even worth.
One that we think that would probably score the most, and actually, I don't know if we've applied for this one yet, is Mayfield, where the big curves are in there, doing the high friction treatment like we did with the Zimmerman.
Yeah.
That's a conversation, Boyce Road, or the high friction treatment.
Wasn't Herkner part of that? That intersection, I thought that,
For the high friction.
no, not
You're
high
talking
friction.
TCAPS project?
Yeah. I thought
Yeah,
it was
What?
road safety-
for the light.
For the
Yeah.
light,
For the
for the
light.
light.
Yeah, we
That
have
was,
one.
that was a road safety grant. So there's kind of tremendous value to that. I don't think we should just summarily just dismiss and say, no, we are not doing it.
Do we have a project that we've targeted that we think has a high number that would make it more worthwhile? That's what I'm trying to think of what we.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we kind of
I can tell
focused
the
on,
ones in the past that we've talked about is obviously the Long Lake Straight Road
Mhm.
one. We know that's gonna most likely get denied.
No, yeah, that's,
With 3 Mile and Potter, we've done that one before for a roundabout. And then a couple of high friction ones, the Boyce Road, we could try to put in for that one. The Mayfield one's a newer one we've identified. It's been some more accidents and issues there.
I wouldn't do the North Lake straight one because
Yeah.
it's an exercise in futility at this point
Yeah.
to do that. But I think projects like high friction surface, we have had success with those. Maybe we just focus on those types of projects
I think that'd be a good one to focus on.
rather than trying
Or
to
it's
do
an easy
everything.
get.
Yeah.
The amount of money.
Yeah.
If you think it's low hanging fruit, perhaps,
Right.
I'm just concerned that we don't have time. When we get down to it, we have a number of projects that we're already working on that they're struggling to keep up.
I understand that, but these are also projects that are helping our road, and we are also constantly trying to find out new sources of revenue. And to just close that door, I don't think is a good idea.
The Voice Road is a problem. I mean, we were looking at the flashing sign. That
I
one
was trying to find some options for that one. Just like today's a day we know we gotta watch that because it warmed up. It starts to melt and run down.
Oh,
there.
yeah, that's gonna freeze.
It's gonna freeze tonight, and now you have an issue. So we talked the second shift and night shift to keep an eye on that. So we're thinking, hey, warming up, we're in good shape. You gotta watch. That's a prime
that's
example.
14,000 vehicles that had the Kingsley to 12 turn and go down Voice Road. I mean, it's a significant amount that turn and go down Voice
There's a
Road.
lot of traffic in that road.
Yeah.
So I think
Because it's
that,
such a nice road.
yeah, I'm in favor of that type of an approach, like a more concentrated approach.
So if we're looking at high friction, we would recommend the Voice curve, the Mayfield curve, and then also the one maybe like the Hammond High Lake Supply, this big curve out here, the Bell Road out would be the three that we'd look at for high friction.
Those are speedways. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Who does those?
The friction.
No. Who will do the work?
Wig trim. So longest managers up.
I think the chair is going to change the service.
Yeah, run more smoothly.
Well, it is running smoothly.
Yes. So just the last thing I'd like to do is just thank all of our staff.
Yes.
For the storm here. The camaraderie that I saw, the brotherhood, the pulling together, helping each other out. It was awesome. What we did for our community was great. I'm very impressed with all our staff. And that talks to everybody. It's not just the guys in the plow trucks. Kylie and Jennifer from the front office, the amount of phone calls they received, and I'm sure they're told some not very nice things. The whole staff pulled together, and it was just awesome to see that. So very appreciative of them. Everyone did a great job.
We are too.
Is there something, Dan, that we can do for all that crew that worked during the storm, like as an expression of our appreciation?
I've been kind of kicking that around, trying to think of a couple things.
Okay, keep if you come up with something, let us know. I think that would be a nice thing to do for them as a thank you.
I did have some ideas today. It didn't get quite accomplished, but I'll speak to you about.
Joe and I are gonna buy them lunch next week. We're gonna do a Qdoba buffet, whatever. I was just gonna buy lunch for them and Joe offered to help, so. I was thinking that the reason I like that is number one, he doesn't like tacos, and number two, they will come and set up a buffet with chafing dishes that'll stay warm, so if the guys are coming off of lunch at different times, or the admin people, it'll be there for them all day. So I was
Well, I'll chip in on that.
You might have to
Good
do
for you
something.
guys.
Yeah.
You might have to do something for the Kingsley crew too.
well, I can do that too.
They will be reporting.
That'll be
I
nice.
can contact it if you guys want me to read, if you want to help at all, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I was just gonna buy them
But we
something.
need to get some idea of a head count and.
I was gonna do like 60, I thought.
Yeah.
I thought 60 would be good.
For all staff.
Maybe if you could give me an idea on Kingsley, I don't think that I know how many people are there. 10. Okay. So we can do that. And then I thought that would give them an opportunity to be able to come when they're available to eat. And then there would be leftovers that people could have, or
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah, let us know.
I will
We'll
coordinate
help you
that.
with that.
Okay. I was thinking next week.
I'm looking at my notes. I have one more thing here. I will be off starting 3/24, so next Tuesday. And I'll be off.
I don't think we are going to be here next. We have a conference down in Venice.
Yeah.
Well-deserved break. I hope you have a fabulous time away.
Thank you.
All right.
DCAP's the spring break, my daughter's last one. So
Yeah,
we're gonna do something with her.
that'll be awesome.
Was there anything on the staff, he's talked to the mentor, is there anything on the staff report anybody wanted to write?
I just had a question on Frankie Road. It says that OHM continues preparing plans. Do you have an approximate date on when those plans would be completed?
We had hoped to see them end of the month.
This month?
Yeah, it might be early April.
And then what are the next steps once you receive those design plans and engineering plans?
Yeah, once we receive those plans, I wanted to reach back out, the group that we had get together, Fairfield Township, PCAP, show everybody those plans, kind of let them see the renderings. And after that, I'll be going out to bid.
Is that going to be just a meeting with the officials, or is that going to be like an open house type of thing?
Just the officials, we've met in the same groups, met a handful of times.
Okay.
I just want to show them where we're at, final product,
Stakeholders.
and then put it out.
That's the only question.
Okay, this is organized together here. Commissioners' reports, requests and round table. Starts far end.
Two things I just wanted to highlight. I wanted to thank our staff for putting together the tribute for Vic McCarty. It was very important to him, and I hope you guys know how much it meant to him. Talking to him since then, he's just been on cloud nine. So thank you for doing that and recognizing that it was meant a lot to a lot of people. The next thing is we should be highlighting Dan. As the mom of 2 first responders, I get a lot of stories about what happens in storms. Dan's coordination for our EMTs, our paramedics, our firefighters. If you aren't involved in the first responder world, I don't think you realize the role that Dan played at that storm, including from Greg, my neighbor, Greg Bird. Just the praises for Dan, and he went above and beyond and on his own personal time and really helped. And while the rest of us sat at home, there were people having medical emergencies in our counties and they couldn't get them to the hospitals. And most of the fire trucks were stuck. I can tell that because I happen to know some people that work on them. And Dan was there to make sure that the road commission, and of course our friends in Lebanon as well, and in Antrim, to make sure that they were coordinating with EMS. So that is a huge part of the road commission that I don't think your average person thinks about. They think about their subdivision road being plowed or that, but they actually coordinate with and accompany the emergency responders. So thank you, Dan. Because of you, a woman that went into premature labor made it. And because of you, a man that had a heart attack made it. And so that's a big deal. And I know you know that because you're a first responder. So anyways, I just wanted to highlight that. And I think that the news did a good job of talking about that. The Record Eagle did a great article. And I think they pointed out, we always talk about how our road commission are first responders because they respond to accidents and stuff, but they really are truly part of the first response team. So big congratulations. Thank you.
Just some real quick ones. Dan and I met with the city planning and legal folks last week. I guess it was 2 weeks ago. Because we were supposed to go to the city last Monday. I got pushed to next Monday. So myself and John Chase was there, and John's going to go with us. So John Chase and I are going to go visit the city on Monday to talk about how the changes down at Beitner we hope will happen. We do need their cooperation. So, so far so good. We're going to go and explain what we're doing, why we're doing it, and why the safety.
There's no vote for the city on that. You're just doing a presentation.
I believe they're going to vote to allow us to do what we need to do there.
Okay, good.
And that includes, changing the driveway for the one parking lot to the roundabout and coming across the other part to come the other way and figuring out how to get people across the road more safely.
Yeah.
So that'll be good.
Work out pretty nice. So
yeah, it's a great project for the county.
We had the meeting, I think it went really good. Everybody saw the safety value of what we're trying to accomplish there.
So we got the next hurdle this Monday night, so we'll be there doing that. Dan, I do have a request for Dan, Mr. Chairman. We do have to get you, Kingsley and Paradise Township in the same room so we can figure out this water agreement thing. because our agreement with the village affects the agreement with the township. And because we're the first two entities that are using Kingsley water that aren't inside the village,
You're right.
we need to make sure that gets all taken care of if we could, please.
Is that related to the Kingsley facility?
Yeah, it's related to Kingsley
Yeah.
facility. What happened there is, we changed management, they changed management. Things got confused, so, if we
We talked to the
get that done, I
village charge that already used for water usage.
and they're going to talk.
They have the truck wash set up as like a commercial wash, so that they can get 100 vehicles through it a day. We're only washing our personal vehicles. So the amount we're being charged is quite large.
But I think we can y'all get in the room and get it worked out, get it signed, get it done, and then that way they have their model ready to go too, so.
Wasn't the truck, but there is a truck wash there.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a private one though, so that's not set up as a private wash, it's set up as, there probably isn't many private car washes, so there's not really a way to set up.
It's a limited use.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you think about it, most of the time of the year, it's not going to be used. I mean, it's winter time primarily.
So we get that cleaned up. I really appreciate it. And so with those two entities.
On the Weidner, Joe, I mean, the city will, it's a city property now?
Yes, we're gonna ask permission to be able to come access to some of their area.
I see.
To be able to do what we need to do.
They do. It's interesting.
Yeah, they own the parcel that the roundabout empties into, and they own the parcel across the
Okay.
road, just to the north side of the park on that side where they launched the boats. And then we're gonna talk to the county about that 5 acres and who should own that 5 acres once this is done.
All right.
And we have planned ahead. The roundabout has a
Yes.
route.
It has a spot
for,
Yeah.
for this,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, on the other side, yeah.
I-
I just have a question. The list for next year's projects, when do you expect that to be finalized, completed?
I think I presented it at the last board meeting, it's on our website.
Oh, that's okay. Got it. That's all I had.
Well, storm related, I went out Monday and did an Uber run. And, that was that.
Yeah.
I took somebody to the hospital and then I was done. And I went along Grandview Parkway, 5 miles an hour, heading east, and on the westbound side, people stuck in the snow in the middle, couple of city plow trucks behind them going, come on, trucks, people stopped getting out of their vehicles. They just couldn't even move it because of the drifting. And, it was pretty amazing. And I understand that we had some stucks as well as
A lot.
a couple of issues. Otherwise, I actually, on Tuesday, I went down to clean out some driveways. I have the tractor, I break out the tractor, and I was going to clean out some driveways in Indian Trail. And I hit Avenue D. And down the road in Avenue D, right at the end of the road, I see a plow truck with another truck next to it that apparently had tried to pass him on that side, breaking the plow and just locking up right there. Breaking our stuff, and I actually took the tractor down there thinking maybe I could help him get this stuff apart and everything, but you guys had it all figured out. Your guys had it all figured out.
I was all down inside the plow and I popped out and there you were.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I pulled my tractor out on 31. I'm just like, hey man, I'll take this stuff. So anyway, yeah, that was interesting. But I will say this, I've been doing the driving thing more, and it's amazing how the roads became passable by Tuesday.
Yeah.
I pulled a full day Tuesday, and there were a lot of people that couldn't get to work without external rides and whatnot. I got a little car that you wouldn't think could get through anything, but it does pretty good. And on these roads, at least I was out. Having the roads open was pretty incredible. So kudos again, another, one of the other things though, I want to bring to the table. I'm using it also as a way to test our road system, particularly lights. And as you know, I've got a little thing about lights and whatnot. The Copper Ridge light should be turned off. 5, 6 o'clock or something. There's really nothing going on. Maybe 7 o'clock. I know there's some late appointments, but that thing was still running and stopping traffic uphill on Silver Lake Road, past 9 o'clock. And, I just thought, you know, I'm sitting there waiting for 3 minutes, and 3 minutes for anybody when they're already driving slow because, you know, even good roads are slippery sometimes.
Isn't there a detection sensor on that light?
No, it's got to be automatic because it was just stopping people. There's nobody coming out. If it is a detection, then it's failing.
Yeah, because I swear it's always blinking yellow, and when it works,
on that,
when there's traffic coming out of.
Now Barnes Road works great. The timing is perfect on Barnes Road. There is a sensor on that one because it does seem to see what's going on. If it isn't, it's just about perfect anyway. The one that I really, 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 really hate is that Frankie Silver Lake Road intersection. We need to shorten up the Frankie Road green light at least a half of that. Waiting for 5 minutes at that light for it to change is insane.
I believe we have detection problems there.
Okay, well,
They've been out and looked at it, I think, recently.
it needs to be put on a timer and just let it go through its timer, that because that's a real problem. Obviously, the Silver Lake 31 intersection is too long too, but that's on dot there, right? I mean, they do their own thing, or do we have?
I'm dot controls.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The only other one that I have a problem with is at the end of Parsons on 3 Mile Road. You know, it goes through the cycle where the northbound gets the left turn. Oftentimes there's no left turn. And so anybody coming up, heading south is just waiting an extra 2 minutes while that left turn.
I know the detection's broke on that one. They're going to try to get it fixed here this week.
Okay. All right. I'm just I'm out there being the light police or something right now. But
a couple of lights we've been having trouble with rodent damage. For sure. Then you get in there and chewing on the wires.
The North Long Lake and Cedar Run, but I understand it's been repaired.
They're able to fix it.
I will say this, feedback from the community. I get a lot of it, and feedback from the community on the light at the high school. They love that light and the alignment right now. They're a lot happier with that there. And I'll just end that. I'd go on forever probably.
You might. So I have a few things. I've spoken to Dan about it. The engineering staff is really busy. And we have a couple of things. I kind of have a short time here left. I have a couple of things on my list I would like to get started. We committed to Garfield and they've allocated money for the Zimmerman connector. And they have the money for us right now this year. And we're not going to get anything done this year. But we have to approach property owners. We need an Imagineer to start an overall concept plan. And I would like the engineering committee to meet with Dan, set out an RFQ for this. And we're not writing a plan, but we've got community input. I'd like to move forward with that.
I've got some thoughts on how to help that too. So.
And then the next thing was the Straight Road, East Long Lake Road intersection. I spoke with Ron Lemko yesterday. We need to get started on that too, I think. I think we should get an engineering study ready. Ron had some comments that things have happened at the trailer park where initially there was an option of perhaps aligning the roads.
Right.
And he has kind of informed me that might be gone.
Right.
So we're down to the dog bone and peanut about, but I'd like to get started on it.
And they're still, as far as I know, they're still willing to work with us on giving us a little bit of space on the trailer side. All right.
We don't need any.
We're good already.
Yeah. We're gonna be good.
We only need a few feet.
They were
from the
talking about
church.
moving the first row trailers just so they want it so close to the road.
Right. Okay.
So I'd like those, your permission to continue to go with those. And then when we're talking about getting some of the things done that need to be done, this year is going to be really, really busy. But we've spoken about, Chris asked me about it after the meeting, and Dan and I spoke about it a little bit. Lightner Bridge. We're talking about huge, that this is a sort of a big project and that road would be closed a long time. Can you update us, Dan, about what they're talking, we may need some intervention from Eagle. And I've given them some ideas on how to proceed. But if it's going to be closed so long, I want you guys to think about, and it might be too late in the design, but putting a sachet in the road and building the new bridge while the old one is still up, while the old bridge is operational. It's
Moving it over.
Moving it over a little bit. I talked to Jim Johnson, who was here when he and his dad designed it in '79, and they realigned it a little bit. But if we can't get any cooperation, how long did they tell you?
The direction they want us to take would take almost 9 months to do the bridge. We want to do an over the winter construction, so we're not interfering with any summer activity. There's a concern about fish eggs during that time. Which we're a little, what they're gonna do is they're gonna drive pylons in there, so no debris or dirt or anything can reach the river at all. We're gonna protect that whole stream bed, so we're not.
But any clouding will do.
We're not sure why they're saying that's gonna cause an issue. We have talked with them and they said, well, how we're gonna drive the pylons in is gonna cause less erosion or sand going into the river than a heavy rainstorm.
Our bridge builder tells us that.
Yeah, we're going to cause less of an issue than a heavy rainstorm one time, and then we won't be affecting it anymore. So, Eagle wants us to like do that over the summer, the way they want to do it, and it's going to work out. It'll be like a 9-month project. We're trying to start it at like January, do the project, and then soon as whoever wins the bid and the asphalt plants are open, they're there and they're paving it, hopefully in April, and we're up and running is what the staff's goal is.
The project is going to last 9 months. Does that mean that the roadway is going to be closed during the entire time?
Closed for 9 months. So
it doesn't matter if it starts in summer or winter, 9 months. Is
no. We would be shorter if we do it the direction we want to.
Okay.
So I want you to know that this is a big deal in our community. There's only 3 ways to get across, east to west.
Yeah, that's a huge.
They're all really busy. So I think we should consider, I don't even know the intricacies of it yet, but we need to consider an alternate look. Can we do something else to build it side by side if we can't do anything else?
Being the Fed Aid project, I don't think we've done.
Yeah, we might have.
Who gave the information on the fish eggs to you? Was it
Eagle.
it was Eagle directly?
Eagle's holding us up right now.
So when did we find out that it was required closure for 9 months?
This is all happening here in the last couple of weeks of that.
And that is based upon whose plan?
That is the bridge designer saying if they have to do it during this specific timeline, it could stretch the project into 9 months. If we can do it over the winter, you're probably looking at 5 months.
Is there anyone, but it's still 5 months of closure?
Yeah.
So is there a contingency built into that design plan to accommodate an alternative route during that closure? What's the alternative plan? Where's the traffic getting diverted?
They're gonna have to be on the highway. There's no other route.
Yeah, Cass Roads. Okay.
You're either gonna go to Kingsley and go across. You're gonna go to
When is construction scheduled to start?
Nothing scheduled. We haven't done about the bid. We're just trying to work out the details currently.
Yeah.
Because that Cass Road is also going to being rebuilt, crush and shape between Hartman and South Air.
Cass Road will be completely done before we do this. We specifically try to separate these projects far enough apart.
Can we work with MDOT to light the Hartman 31 intersection?
Temporarily.
Yeah.
I really wasn't going to spend a lot of time on. I want you to know that these things are going to be 5 to 9 months. They're closed. And
I can tell you, moving it over, if you move it to the east or to the west, you're going to go across.
Where the parks.
You want to talk about a big ask from the city? I need more than what I'm asking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, in which case,
There's some private property on that side anyway. On
Property.
other sides.
On both sides,
Yeah.
on that side, there's private property that lead up next to the river, but on the other side, it's either the city or the conservation district. Or us, those are the three landowners, right?
This would
through
be
there.
after the MDOT project and interlocking corners is completed all the way though, right? Because if we've got interlocking.
They're doing it
corners,
this year.
Yeah, it can be done. Yeah, they're doing it this
But
year.
they're planning Chum's Corner, 2028.
That's what that's what I was thinking, like.
Oh, you're talking, I thought you meant.
No, but the interlocking project doesn't get completed until not this year. We're talking about the spring of 2027.
Another year.
And wouldn't Beitner then, if you're talking about the winter, you're talking about January of 27, right? Yeah, so there would be overlap there that I think needs to be considered. And yeah, I mean, Phil's right. Obviously, the Trump's Corners thing would need to be considered as well. Because those MDOT projects are always over more than 1 year. It seems like all of them have been.
I don't know what they'd be doing construction over the winter though.
No.
No,
Then we'd be doing our construction during the winter.
as long as we completed in the spring before they started their spring construction again. That's what I was thinking was they're gonna stop, but then. Because the interlocking project is not officially done until, isn't it April or May of 27? So that's something to take into consideration that we aren't adding to that.
Where are we on that Leitner project? Have we approved designs? Have designs been submitted?
OHM's doing the design.
So right now it's a very early stage.
It's further than that. They're fairly far along the design process.
I mean, well, with the extra lane.
We went with the extra lane. It's a stream bank to stream bank. There's no more impediments in it. It's gonna be clear there.
Taking back the natural river.
Yeah, the average rivers.
That's a little higher as we raise
So
up.
my point is that this is new information, that this would require a full closure of the road for 5 months or 9 months.
No, it's always.
I don't recall it
assumed
being
that.
having this discussion at the board meeting.
I don't think we've ever had. this.
Right.
Because you have to remove
I'm
the tubes.
bringing it to your attention that it impacts the community a lot. Think about the vehicles going around that every day and how you might double or
Oh, yeah.
triple the distance of them, the travels they might have to make.
Yeah,
And
it's gonna be inconvenient.
my take on it would be if it can be delayed in any way to figure out the proper solution so that it doesn't have to go so long, whatever hoops we have to jump through to facilitate a quicker construction as quickly as possible. The timelines, MDOT sets a lot of the timelines. You're allowed this much to drive every piling. Every beam has, these are all the things that we incorporate, that the engineer incorporates into the design. But there may be some things we can do that, certain bridge builders will say, well, we can do that in 27 days. And somebody else might say, well, that's a minimum 37 days for us. And the designer has to accommodate those kind of things. We might be too late.
But we
we might
could get a
just,
light at Hartman though, right? Like Hartman and 31.
we could request it.
Okay.
So there's some things we need to do. My point is, we have looked at the construction
Yeah.
schedule and what we have. It's a big thing. It's going to affect the community a lot. I want you to talk about it. You can think about solutions and we can pass them on to the team.
I think we need to have a discussion with OHM. We need to consult with them because they're the designers. They are the best, they are the what are so-called bridge builders or designers that you're talking about. We have to communicate with them as to that they need, what are our options rather than a complete closure of this road.
Can you?
I don't know if it's always it's gonna be when you put it out, they're just
Whoever-
designing the bridge, we have to put this out to bid.
Yeah.
The winning bidder.
But the timelines are indicated in the bid, who's going to bid on it that it's in the proposal. If this is going to be 93 days or 73 days or 199 days will be in the start and a completion in a federal project.
If we can if Eagle will allow us to construct this in the winter.
We're working with OHM currently to try to work with Eagle to explain to them what we're doing. The way they were reading into the project, we believe is incorrect.
So it has to be a full closure because you got to take the tubes out, because you're also fixing the bed of the river at the same time.
We could use a update from OHM to talk to us.
Yeah. Because I don't know which meetings these discussions were happening. This is the first time I'm hearing at this meeting that there's going to be 5 months closure or potentially 9 months closure. So
I don't think those things were discussed when.
No, they
when-
weren't.
When we,
I've attended all these board meetings. I mean, there are all these side meetings happening in different boards. So maybe that was discussed in those meetings. It definitely was not discussed at this.
I think we took bids on the, I was not, I did not put the agenda. I think we took bids for them. And we picked an engineering firm based on the engineering team's recommendation.
Right.
And we gave it to OHL.
Yep.
I don't think there's any more been said about it.
No,
So
that's
I
not.
mean, there's design, we haven't came and filed design and stuff like that, and maybe it was just assumed that if you replace the bridge, you.
everybody knew it was gonna take forever. That was an assumption, but we need to, if that's gonna be the case, the public needs a lot of notice. Okay, that was my commissioner's input for the day. Two things, Zimmerman and Strait, and we can talk about the Brightner Bridge. All right, G. Larry?
Yes, we are, at that time where we need an upgrade to our GIS enterprise. And it's basically is everything that, is the backbone to our work order management system. It's kind of the backbone to all it houses our traffic count data, it houses our condition assessment, it houses our asset management. Everything's in this, but it's time to upgrade. We're at 10.8.1 right now, and we want to go to at least 11.3 and 11.5 or 11.5. But we went out for bids to get some assistance doing that, and also some annual, like just some services that after the upgrade is done, we can go back to this company. If there's any troubleshooting, anything like that, if there's any special projects, we can use this company as our professional services. So I went and checked through the low bid, which is Blue Raster, and I'm recommending Blue Raster just because it's the timeline that they estimate is shorter than anybody else's. They're cheaper than anybody else's, and then we kind of went through a couple different scenarios, 40 hours of support and 80 hours of support, and they still are a very good look. I went through the references, called the references. They're very happy with what they've done for them. And so I'm recommending that the board accepts this bid.
Somebody want to make a motion to that?
I'll make a motion, then we can have discussion.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the Blue Raster bid to upgrade the enterprise GIS environment and annual support.
Support.
Okay, now further discussion.
How many hours are you asking for? Are you asking for the 80 or the 40?
Well, we don't know because what it's estimated to be about 48 for the actual upgrade. These guys will all be off site. They're not going to be here. They're going to just do everything remote.
Right.
And then, so they're guesstimating 48 hours to upgrade. And then what I did was we're just trying to, because everybody has different, costs. So, for annual or hourly cost. So we went to the max hourly cost and just kind of went through the numbers at 40 and at 80.
Okay. And then
So-
as far as security, obviously they're going to be having access to our server.
They will.
So do we have any knowledge of who they've worked with before successfully?
Yeah. We've two in Texas, and what was the other one? Was in Columbus, I believe. So
Because the last thing we need is something happening to us after hearing everybody's server's compromised, and
yeah, there's really no way around. I mean, the
I
thing
understand.
is we still have safeguards through our North Guard. He is our
so they're gonna have access to a partition
correct.
specifically for this purpose.
Yeah, and a lot of our stuff is, cloud based, and you can really control whether they're administrators or people that can work on it without destroying anything.
Thanks. Thanks.
Okay, so when you make the motion, are we going for the total 30,000? 500, up to 30,500.
Yeah, up to, okay. Yeah, up to 30,000. I didn't know how many hours
I see what you're saying.
it was for Uncle Jason
I
asked.
just want to be clear.
Yeah, so it would be for up to 30,500. So I'll amend my motion to include up to 30,000.
Okay, there you go. All right, is there any more discussion? Kyle?
Corn,
Yes.
Underwood,
Yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Chasm,
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes. All right, Dan, back to you on the multi-year plan.
So, wage trim's getting closer on the multi-year plan. I wanted to see if we could set a work session to let the board see where we're at with it and kind of reveal it, and we can make final directions with that. We're looking towards the end of April, we thought would be a good time. But I see that we also are looking at doing that county road tour around that time, so.
Can we do it at the same time?
I was wondering. We're talking about a Saturday,
Was it the 7th?
18.
18.
What's the approximate time for the road tour?
That could go a long time, or.
I think it's gonna go from 10 till 3.
Okay,
We can make it a day, honestly. I mean, it just,
it's up, I'm fine with that. But it's up to you guys,
No.
obviously,
How
but
long would the work session be, Jan, approximately? How long do you think the information would people? I mean, given the discussions we have, it could take just as easily another 10 to 3. But, you know.
I mean, it has to be 2 hours, but like you said, it could
Yeah,
easily stretch
that's
into much
optimistic.
longer, yeah.
You,
You can
you
make it
don't,
as short as that.
you don't want to go concurrently.
Well, I'm willing to go concurrent consecutively, but if we go from 10 to 3, how much longer after 3 are we willing to go?
Well, let's start an hour earlier then, and you want to do the update on the 5-year plan here first, and then
I think we should do it
I think-
afterwards.
The tour afterwards?
No, we should do the discussion afterwards, because if we're going on the tour, I mean, it might give us some
I like
insight.
that.
Yeah, I like that idea.
that.
I just think we can start it at 9 and maybe go from 9 to 2. And then, because I mean, that would.
and
be-
then a couple hours back here, and if we get back
Yeah.
early, we could go.
Right.
We
Just
could
get us the fastest
Yeah.
driver.
I'm gonna
For the
put that in
bus.
my calendar.
We talked about a bus that has a restroom on it.
Oh, actually, never mind. We have to do it, but I'm not in town on
Okay,
that.
we have to have all of us.
Yeah.
I think the
can't do
league
it.
does not have the next week available. Right? It's fine. We all
My
know.
daughter is graduating from college on Friday, May 1st. That is my only date I have blocked up. I will be down in Grand Rapids.
Or what, 25th? April
Okay.
25th. Is that?
My life isn't so complicated. I can do anything.
I had a lot of children. Friday the 25th is fine, or I'm sorry, Saturday the 25th is
Yeah, sorry,
fine for
Saturday.
me.
Yeah, Saturday.
Is that
25th.
good? Joe?
I can cancel when I'm going.
Okay, we
I'll
feel good
cancel
about the
it.
25th? I'm gonna put it in so that I don't plan
I'm
anything.
gonna-
25th. We will have to reach out to Wade Trim to see if they're available on
Okay.
a Saturday. I don't know if it'll,
Right, because they were gonna go,
there's staff available. I'm not sure.
all right, I'm sure they get somebody.
Besides us, who else is going to get invited for the road tour? The tour.
I think you might want to ask the supervisors. Anybody on the county board who want
County
to,
board members, county board.
Yeah.
members who want to go with us? Got it. It's a study
So we would-
session. We're not gonna vote on anything, but,
We'll have to let people.
We'll
know.
still have to notice
we have
that.
to, no, and
Yeah.
if there's so many people
Especially
who
for
want to,
study-
well, if there's so many people who want to ride the bus,
We're gonna
Study
stay
session or
to this, right?
informational meeting?
Dan?
It doesn't.
We're gonna
it-
wait
it-
for this.
It's going to be a work session.
We're talking about.
It's- Every time we have a forum, we have
Yeah,
to.
we're gonna
Yeah,
be gone
that'll
for
be-
6
Oh,
plus hours, so maybe
Charter.
the charter.
Okay.
When I was a county commissioner, we did the road tour
45 people.
with the county road commission at the time. We all went on the bus. I remember that.
Yes, so,
Okay, so I blocked off April the 25th, Saturday.
yep.
And I will adjust.
and Daniel confirm it with Wade Trim.
So we think at 9 to 2 for the bus and maybe 2 to 4 for the 5-year plan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's probably.
Thank you. All right, we're down to our discussion and the direction on tips.
All right, there is, mention that we don't have to do anything. If we do not want to participate, in the, tax increment financing scheme, but the law says that we do. In a new scheme, we have to exercise our right to opt out by quite literally writing a resolution opting out.
You're talking about East Bay Township?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we have no choice on the 97, whatever they do,
We don't.
we don't have any choice because it's, unless they change the boundaries. If they change the boundaries, then we can,
Right, if they start an entirely new tip rather than an extension.
and that's considered a new, if they change the boundaries and then.
Right. And
Do we even know if our village is being captured by the TIF, the 97 TIF?
Well,
I don't know. It's all done at the treasurer's office. I haven't seen anything to indicate that they have that.
Right.
yeah, so.
I don't think so.
So I would suggest that we, even though the county does have a policy that specifically covers voted on components of government, I would suggest that we still issue a resolution that formally announces that we are not going to be participating in the tax increment financing for that particular district.
So it will be largely symbolic because they also
Well,
here during
I
hold on. They also said here during the presentation that we are not going to capture any road commission fund. So, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be part of that plan. I'm sure it will be. So this resolution that you're suggesting is going to be, and on top of that, there's a county policy. So this resolution is going to be mostly symbolic in nature.
It's legally part of the process.
I would like us to think about over the next 30 days till our next meeting or so about what our total take on the TIFs would be. If Garfield has spoken about the Logan's Landing Authority, and that's an interesting one because a lot of the things that would come from that would be road improvements. And so are we willing to participate when they're going to perhaps bring in outside revenue that would be our own money would be captured into this, which we're going to spend along with other general fund potentially revenue. It's kind of a tricky thing. And I think we should think about not just if all the board members don't want to participate in TIFs, we can just say we don't participate. Whenever one comes up, we'll just send our resolution and we'll be done with them.
And that's another reason why I prefer that we do a resolution. Because if we just automatically assume that we're not going to be participating, I don't think that's appropriate because there are times, for example, we have literally a stub, a 4-mile road that is involved in that corridor currently. Okay, everything's pretty much MDOT and the private businesses and whatnot along the way. Whereas there is a difference where lifting the road, raising the road, creating better access to the current businesses and creating a better access to our road system. It's all our road at Logan's Landing. So there may be a way that does help us. I think we still would have to look at the numbers and see how that benefits us. I mean, we've talked about changing the road or putting a bridge or with different access there for some time anyway. But I think each one has to stand on its own, whether or not it benefits us.
I agree. On that part, I agree that we have to approach this on a case by case basis. Okay. In this particular situation, there has been, it's been stated that this particular TIF plan is not going to capture any road commission monies. So if the board wants to adopt a resolution just to basically cover its bases, I can understand that. But from a legal standpoint, there is no legal requirement to opt out if the TIF plan specifically states that those portions of the road commission millage taxes are not subject to capture. The legal requirement to opt out isn't triggered if the taxes are not going to be captured. Okay.
And have we seen that? I mean, do you have that in writing? Is that?
Could I?
Yeah, please. That's part of the discussion.
We'd like your input.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The county road commission, while you do have a road millage, you are not a taxing authority. Taxing authority is Grand Traverse County. You do not have your own L 4029. You are on the county's L 4029. And so the decision to opt in or out is the county's decision. Now they have a current policy from 2012 that says that specifically or extra voted millages cannot be captured. That would be a county road commission millage. That's why you had Claire stand here and say, we are not looking to capture the county tax millage. We are not. As soon as we heard about the policy, we looked to see how it impacted us, and we've left those out. The taxing jurisdictions that we are still working with is the county for the general operating millage, NMC, and Beta. And of course, the township's collection in that part as well.
But Beta
there is-
also falls under the same.
Nope, Beta is its own
Its own
taxing
tax-
authority. They have their own 4029, they're in their own taxing authority. They do have a contractual or a relationship with the county. You are correct in that, but they are their own taxing authority. So there is no legal reason. Commissioner Chasm is correct. I mean, you know, Commissioner Gilman, with all due respect, we know your stance on TIFs, and I think that all that would really serve is just to develop that. There is no real legal purpose for it or rationale for it or need for it. I appreciate the ability to speak.
I guess I do. We talked to Bill Henn about this. He gave us a little thing, but he also said he wasn't super hot onto this. I accept what I'm being told, and we agree that in this particular case, we don't want to be part of this. The county has the policy. Our leaders have heard us, and they're not contradicting this. So I think we can go on record. I was thinking we should talk about it, so that we have an understanding of what each of us thinks about it, and the road commission has something people could depend on, look to, some sort of guidance when they talk to us about it. If you believe it needs to be each thing we looked at based on its merits, I think we should have a policy that says we'll look at these based on their merits and their effect on us.
Well, at the very least, I think that the resolution then, if in fact it is controlled by the 4029 that the county holds, that we at least have made our statement of whether or not we feel that there's any benefit to the road commission by having our money taken.
So will we discuss this again, or are we done with this?
In my opinion, our policies falls under the county. We tell our commissioners what we think, and we should be fine with that. Because we cannot tax.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The only thing I could say to this, at least right now, nobody, I mean, clearly my opinion is no. There is no official consensus by the board on our stand on this, sans a resolution. And anybody could come back and say, well, I've been for it.
Well, why is
I'm
that
one of
necessary?
five.
Why is that necessary? If legally we are not a taxing jurisdiction, and legally that power rests with the authority, with the Grand Traverse County, why is it necessary that each of us goes on the record as to where we stand on it? We know your opinion, that's fine. But why is it mandatory for the rest of us to express that opinion when from a legal standpoint, we don't have to do anything?
I disagree that we don't, but that's
okay.
Nice.
Yes, please.
Take care.
You want, TJ, would you like to step up?
I just will comment because I think the county policy is obviously an issue for TJ Andrews County Commission. And I will just say that there's a chance that the county won't follow its policy. Which may mean that your taxes are captured.
There you
That
go.
is a policy, that is an approach. So just
Thank you.
want to say that. Thank you.
But we can't do anything
Well,
about it.
exactly. We can.
But we but we can, and I believe that whether or not the 4029 is at the county, I believe that if we opt out of it, we will be protected by that. We have a millage that we approve.
Via the county.
We don't approve it, the county.
Okay, but we've created the millage, and then we educate the public in the mediocre way that we educate the public on it. And I just, if it came down to later on, we have to fight a fight. It's better to have all intent very much no.
So in light of Commissioner Andrews' comment, then the only thing that I think would be plausible is for this board to adopt a resolution expressing our desire and send it to the county commission, board of commissioners, indicating our desire that the county board does not, that it follows its policy and does not capture ours. That would be the only thing that we are able to do.
I think that'd be.
Are the other entities doing that, like veterans and animal control and what is there? The NER, I think, is one of them.
I can just say, most boards don't have a governing board. This board does. I can't think of any that are not advisory.
They're advisory.
Commission of Advice is
They're
advisory.
COA, NER, all of that.
So I think this is a somewhat unique board on the list, and my senior has nothing overseeing it.
So I think that would be a resolution that would be appropriate in light of the county.
Okay.
Yeah.
So while I can't speak for my board, I can tell you that when we learned of the 2012 policy, which was well into our process, I know I specifically, for my part, 1/7 of a vote, am not interested in going for extra voted millage. Because I think that the county board, when they passed that policy, was wise. The electorate voted specifically for those reasons: Commission on Aging, Senior Center, veterans, animal control, and the county road millage. So those funds should be used specifically for those reasons. Again, we are at our next joint meeting with Corridor Improvement Authority in the township, bringing those revised numbers to them. Claire and I are. They do not have those extra voted millages in there. I would ask that if you author and pass a resolution to the county board, that you opine on solely your millage and not in general that they.
That's where it's appropriate. I agree with
we
that.
consider any others.
I appreciate that.
It's
Thank you
not,
very
it's
much.
not our, it's not our business.
Maybe I'm not knowledgeable enough on the process, but Beth just said that in their discussions, their board, it appeared, did not have an interest in including, I call them auxiliary millages. I'm sure it's not the right term, but I've always called them auxiliary millages. But maybe I'm misunderstanding, but what Commissioner Andrews said was East Bay Township could come to the county board with this, request. And the county board could say, we're going to throw in the auxiliary millages. Or am I wrong? Is that it is whatever you draft at East Bay? Or can the county change that and add in veterans and conservation
It seemed
districts?
to me that was
So-
really.
The development plan can be adjusted. So particularly during this time, the 60 days, the estimates that we had were made without the knowledge of the 2012 policy. They were from consultants, and here is your taxing jurisdictions, and here's what the revenues would generate. In light of that 2012 policy, we are honoring what that 2012 policy says. They are redrafting it. So could they draft something that says we are all in? They certainly could. I don't foresee them. Well, I can't predict my own board. So
That is the fact.
But
Aren't we having fun now?
I don't see them going completely the other way. Actually, the discussion we're having with the county board right now, in my opinion, is in their redraft of their policy is not the extra voted millages, but is at what level the county would participate with their operating millage. So again, my board, specifically the township board, hasn't opined on that. But we were bringing them the revised numbers in light of that policy.
So before you found out about the 2012 policy, are you saying that your board was drafting a TIF that included all of the auxiliary millages?
The original number.
The original
did.
one was,
The original
okay.
numbers.
Then you find out about the policy, so you guys go for a redraft. And it likely won't include them because of the policy, but then it gets submitted to the county, which may or may not follow their policy, right? You don't have to, there's no requirement. Can you guys submit one without all of it?
Absolutely.
And then the county's like, nah, we're gonna throw it in. Is that possible? I don't know.
I don't know that we would ever turn down money, but
Right, and you'll notice of the five of us, I'm the only one that hasn't given my opinion on this, and I have no interest in that, but I likely may be very different from other board members, so that's why I'm asking the question about the process. My own personal experience on the Board of Commissioners, I never had this situation come up, so I don't have knowledge.
Is it possible? Yes.
I think it is, right?
It is.
Well,
We have given money beyond what has been asked in the last 3 years. Is it likely? That's a different question. Is it possible? Yes.
okay.
TIF night, the city's TIF in 2012. We passed, so I was on the library board at the time. And
That's what I was saying.
we had passed our millage in 2012. And it was technically theirs to collect on as well. Okay. And then at the end of the year, the legislature passed a law that allows the libraries to get out. However, ours had already begun.
Right.
So it was a question of whether or not the that tax increment financing district, whether they, wanted to go by the spirit of it, or whether they're going to tie us up for 10 years on that particular. I think we went for a 10-year millage at the time. And but they did. The city, I think, basically said, look, you guys, this is what you're going to do. And they let the library out, which was considerable amount of money. It was several $100,000. And it makes a big difference. And, we're just trying to protect the assets of the voted on millage, which at the time we got 75.5% passage on. But in this case, the county still needs to, if they want to get out of this, even though they have a policy, they still must issue a resolution opting out of it, including whatever components that they want to include. So if the county decides to say, well, we will allow it to happen, we would hope that the message has been sent. Obviously, we have two of the commissioners here, the chair and the vice chair.
Mm-hmm.
We would hope that they take that into account and then at least adopt a resolution that opts out our particular component. And a resolution from this board asks for that officially. More specifically, more succinctly.
Well, may I?
Of course.
What I've heard tonight is that, okay, so we get opted in, we get captured. That may open up a future partnership with East Bay to do something with us to help support their district, correct?
I mean,
We don't know.
you mean that the road commission in
If you
some
captured our money,
funky
if there's-
thing of facts happened.
yeah, if there's some way that,
Of course, I
Yeah.
mean, Beta, for example, is
Yeah.
very supportive. Beta, they know part of some of the visioning, and public feedback up there will benefit, Beta.
right,
To the extent, will it be as much as their millage was? I don't know that we know that, but, certainly they're supportive of it for that reason. Can funds be used for the road portion that you talked about? Claire was exactly right. Yes, it's within those boundaries. But the plan also has to include the development projects,
okay.
beforehand. So you can't, but your plan is amendable. So,
Okay.
and there is a statutory difference with libraries, because I will tell you, when we got our initial numbers in from the consultant, libraries were not included.
They're
in that.
automatically, yeah.
Yeah, because I think we have a consensus here that we want to help you do whatever at the end of format, because it has no traffic and use for anybody other than what you provided
And
for us.
I do appreciate that, and I appreciate Commissioner Lehman kind of hit it on the nose when we were going through that visioning process, which there was an intensive week where we had many meetings and lots of public available. One of the things that we keyed in on was that, you know, while we try to give the public a lot of access to the water, right, with properties and parks and so forth, one of the things that we're not doing is maybe giving people economically disadvantaged or physically with different developmental abilities, the ability to get out on the water. And that was exactly what we were trying to do with that. Was we don't know what that pier will look like, but we wanted to have the opportunity for someone who can't get on a boat financially or physically to be able to experience what it's like to have water around you 360. So thank you.
I know all of us, I don't know all of our personal financial conditions, but we're really blessed. And we have great opportunities. Not everybody does. And I think, you know, the older I get, the more I am. Maybe you could say, Alan, you weren't generous enough when you were younger. I think maybe because I was busy. I think about it more all the time, how blessed we are. We have a great, safe community. We have a lot of really good things going for it. But there are some that live very near to us that don't have the accesses, the stuff we have. If we can help provide for them, like with the East Bay thing, I think it's great. I would like to kind of wrap this up if I could. I would like to us to draft a resolution to the county board saying, please don't include our village. And we'll vote on it next month. You can have Jason supplied a resolution. Would you please have Bill review the final resolution, make sure it's okay with our intent? And Hydrolis, you won't.
No,
like that.
I think that's the resolution that I am.
Have Bill address it to the board versus.
I am able to get behind is to indicate our intent to the county board of commissioners that we do not want our village to be captured.
In this particular case, and they're not going to ask, and we'll have said all we can say.
Sure.
We'll vote on that next month. So,
yeah,
please have that ready. All right. We're to public comment.
I think they've already commented.
I do want to thank the committee. I appreciate seeing you guys here today.
Thank you.
And if we can have a motion to adjourn, we can be done.
So moved.
Do that.
Second. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.